passed, though the sleepy guards, who were lounging on their matchlocks, nodded to our conductor, and thus we went right through that evil-smelling, whitewashed room. We left it at the other end, went down 3 steps into the open air again, crossed another small court, and so came to a square building of stone with a high roof, like the large dovecotes that you may see in old stackyards. Here our guide took another key, and while the door was being opened, Elzevir whispered to me, "It is the well-house," and my pulse beat quick to think we were so near our goal. The building was open to the roof, and the first thing to be seen in it was that tread-wheel of which Elzevir had spoken. It was a great open wheel of wood, 10 or 12 feet across, and very like a mill-wheel, only the space between the rims was boarded flat, but had treads nailed on it to give foothold to a donkey. The patient beast was lying loose stabled on some straw in a corner of the room, and as soon as we came in, stood up and stretched himself, knowing that the day's work was to begin. "He was here long before my time," the turnkey said, "and knows the place so well that he goes into the wheel and sets to work by himself." At the side of the wheel was the well mouth, a dark, round opening with a low parapet round it, rising 2 feet from the floor. We were so near our goal. Yet, were we near it at all? How did we know Mohune had meant to tell the place of hiding for the Diamond in those words? They might have meant a dozen things beside. And if it was of the Diamond they spoke, then how did we know the well was this one? There are 100 wells beside. These thoughts came to me, making hope less sure, and perhaps it was the steamy, overcast morning and the rain, or a scant breakfast, that beat my spirit down. For I have known men's mood change much with weather and with food. But sure it was that now we stood so near to put it to the touch, I liked our business less and less. As soon as we were entered, the turnkey locked the door from the inside, and when he let the key drop it to its place, and it jangled with the others on his belt, it seemed to me he had had us as his prisoners in a trap. I tried to catch his eye to see if it looked bad or good, but could not, for he kept his shifty face turned always somewhere else. And then it came to my mind that if the treasure was really fraught with evil, this coarse, dark-haired man, who could not look one straight, was to become a minister of ruin to bring the curse home to us. But if I was weak and timid, Elzevir had no misgivings. He had taken the coil of twine off his arm and was undoing it. "We will let an end of this down the well," he said, "and I have made a knot in it at 80 feet. This lad thinks the treasure is in the well wall 80 feet below us, so when the knot is on well lip we shall know we have the right depth." I tried again to see what look the turnkey wore when he heard where the treasure was, but could not, and so fell to examining the well. A spindle ran from the axle of the wheel across the well, and on the spindle was a drum to take the rope. There was some clutch or fastening which could be fixed or loosed at will to make the drum turn with the tread-wheel or let it run free, and a foot brake to lower the bucket fast or slow, or stop it altogether. "I will get into the bucket," Elzevir said, turning to me, "and this good man will lower me gently by the brake until I reach the string end down below. Then I will shout, and so fix you the wheel, and give me time to search." This was not what I looked for, having thought that it was I should go. And though I liked going down the well little enough, yet somehow now I felt I would rather do that than have Master Elzevir down the hole, and me left locked alone with this villainous fellow up above. So I said, "No, master, that cannot be. 'Tis my place to go, being smaller and a lighter weight than thou, and thou shalt stop here and help this gentleman to lower me down." Elzevir spoke a few words to try to change my purpose, but soon gave in, knowing it was certainly the better plan, and having only thought to go himself because he doubted if I had the heart to do it. But the turnkey showed much ill humour at the change, and strove to let the plan stand as it was, and for Elzevir to go down the well. Things that were settled, he said, should remain settled. He was not one for changes. It was a man's task this, and no child's play. A boy would not have his senses about him, and might overlook the place. I fixed my eyes on Elzevir to let him know what I thought, and Master Turnkey's words fell lightly on his ears as water on a duck's back. Then this ill-eyed man tried to work upon my fears, saying that the well is deep and the bucket small, I should get giddy and be overbalanced. I do not say that these forebodings were without effect on me, but I had made up my mind that, bad as it might be to go down, it was yet worse to have Master Elzevir prisoned in the well, and I remained above. Thus the turnkey perceived at last that he was speaking to deaf ears, and turned to the business. Yet there was one fear that still held me, for thinking of what I had heard of the quarry shafts in Purbeck, how men had gone down to explore, and there had been taken with a sudden giddiness, and never lived to tell what they had seen. And so I said to Master Elzevir, "Art sure the well is clean, and that no deadly gases lurk below?" "Thou mayst be sure I knew the well was sweet before I let thee talk of going down," he answered. "For yesterday we lowered a candle to the water, and the flame burned bright and steady. And where the candle lives, there man lives too. But thou art right. These gases change from day to day, and we will try the thing again. So bring the candle, Master Gaoler." The gaoler brought a candle fixed on a wooden triangle, which he was wont to show strangers who came to see the well, and lowered it on a string. It was not till then that I knew what a task I had before me, for looking over the parapet and taking care not to lose my balance, because the parapet was low and the floor round it green and slippery with water splashings, I watched the candle sink into that cavernous depth, and from a bright flame turn into a little twinkling star, and then to a mere point of light. At last it rested on the water, and there was a shimmer where the wood frame had set ripples moving. We watched it twinkle for a little while, and the gaoler raised the candle from the water, and dropped down a stone from some he kept there for that purpose. This stone struck the wall half-way down, and went from side to side, crashing and whirring, till it met the water with a booming plunge. And there rose a groan and a moan from the eddies, like those dreadful sounds of the surge that I heard on lonely nights in the sea caverns underneath our hiding-place in Purbeck. The gaoler looked at me then for the first time, and his eyes had a ugly meaning, as if he said, "There, that is how you will sound when you fall from your perch." But it was no use to frighten, for I had made up my mind. They pulled the candle up forthwith and put it in my hand, and I flung the plaster's hammer into the bucket, where it hung above the well, and then got in myself. The turnkey stood at the brake-wheel, and Elzevir leant over the parapet to steady the rope. "Art sure thou canst do it, lad?" he said, speaking low, and put his hand kindly on my shoulder. "Are head and heart sure? Thou art my diamond, and I would rather lose all other diamonds in the world than aught should come to thee. So if thou doubtest, let me go, or let not any go at all." "Never doubt, master," I said, touched by tenderness, and wrung his hand. "My head is sure. I have no broken leg to turn it silly now." For I guessed he was thinking of hoar head, and how I had gone giddy on the zigzag. End of chapter 15. Recording by Simon Evers.